Hello and welcome back to Viet Film Fest. Again, this is the 20th anniversary of VIF. And as has been tradition since we have started our hybrid format, if you're watching online, we are here with some of our filmmakers now after you have just watched Make Way for Tomorrow. Again, I'm Eric Nong, Artistic Director of Viet Film Fest. I just wanted to introduce our filmmakers now. Anybody can go. Why not Nguyen? Please introduce yourself with your name, your title, and the film that you were involved in.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nguyen Havian Fan, and I'm the director and also the producer of the short film Golden Seams of Love. This is the short film based on my true story of my parents. This is like the journey of me exploring the relationship after living away from them for a long time, and then also a journey for me to find the answer for myself about what I think about my parents' relationship as well.
Awesome. My name is Milla Nguyen. I'm the director and writer of I Want You to Live, which is a story that follows the main protagonist, who's a Vietnamese American teenager. And after she loses her parents, she finds her mother's journal, which is also based on my family's journey of being Vietnamese refugees and immigrants voyaging to America.
Hallie or Tina?
I'm Hallie. I was the assistant director for the resting place.
I'm Tina Huynh, the producer for The Resting Place, and that's a film about the Vietnamese community in Tacoma, Washington, and how this association up here supports each other in times of death.
Hi everyone, my name is Hien Nguyen, and I am the recording artist and creative director behind the family music video. And this film is a music video about the Vietnamese Hungarian community in Budapest, and it tries to extend the concept of the family beyond the sense in which the term is used traditionally.
All right, thank you all. I also wanted to shout out that two of our films are graduation films, specifically Milla Nguyen for Arizona State and Nguyen Fan for, I believe it was San Diego State.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So congratulations to the Sun Devil and the Aztec among us. All right. To get us started, and let's go in reverse order of how we just did it. So Hien will go first. What inspired you to make your films?
Well, I think out of all the immigrant communities, the historic immigration of Vietnamese to Hungary has not really been talked about globally. So I was really happy that I could share a small piece of our stories from a very personal perspective. And basically, the scenes were inspired by my childhood memories from the 90s in Budapest. And yeah, we just wanted to pay homage to the Vietnamese Hungarian community.
And I'll answer for The Resting Place for me and Hallie. I had fairly recently moved up to Tacoma, Washington, and had done a screening for my other film, The Songs of Little Saigon. And so after that, I was approached by the Chinese Reconciliation Project Foundation and one of the very well-known community members, Vietnamese community members in Tacoma, whose name is Dr. Min An Hodge. And so they approached me to do this project. And so I wanted to get to know the Vietnamese community up here, but also the subject was very, it's about death and passing, and it's something that's very intense. And that's really what drew me to join this project.
Milla, I think you can go.
Alrighty. My name's Milla, and I worked on I Want You to Live. And really, I would say my parents were the main people that inspired me, especially because growing up in childhood, I heard a lot about their stories about them living in Vietnam and how the Vietnam War impacted them, and how many different generations in my family had this like shared experience of like the pros and cons of living there. And also, I thought it was interesting how someone can leave behind their home, their family, their friends, their school, just like the familiarity of their lives. And that just really inspired me. So I wanted to write a film that represented my family and was symbolic of our history.
And for my short film, what inspired me is that it's like based on my own personal experience, and also the importance of communications. Because I believe like almost everyone's in their life has wondered about their parents' relationship, like why are they still together or they are not together. And then those questions has been in my head since I was a little kid, because my parents up and down relationship in their marriage. So I've been wanting to like be someone who can fix their relationship, and then no matter what the result could be. And then that's kind of like motivate me to do this short documentary, so that I can help myself and also help people to relate themselves. Like, if like many people, though this common, I'm sorry, I mean, because we all like love our parents and want to know how they can keep their marriage like unbroken into this point. So that's kind of like me trying to be like, I'm not sure if there's any other like film similar to what I'm doing, but I believe like my film could be like an example for them to like, as a child, you can be open up and like make something about your parents, and then motivate people to do that. So that's also motivates me to make my film.
Okay, thank you all for the first round of questions. So for some behind the scenes context of how this short film set was put together, back in the annals of Viet Film Fest history, there has usually been a short film set that is centered around loss in some way. And when we were doing the rough draft of the schedule way back in the summer, this was originally framed as a short film set about loss, but then I, had to think it over a little bit more. And in the end, we settled on the current theme for Make Way for Tomorrow. And it's about characters or subjects who remember, reminisce, honor, or mourn their pasts. And so, back in reverse order once again, starting with Nguyen, I'm wondering how all of you think your film relates to the themes of the set. Again, that's characters or subjects who remember, reminisce, honor, or mourn their pasts.
I believe my film is related to the theme, because it's like a mending of the relationship that is grown from broken pieces. So it can be related to character subjects who remember their past and then trying to get past it and like seeking to a better future. So because the theme say like Make Way Tomorrow for me is like about hope, and my film is like a journey of seeking understanding, not only between my parents but also between me and my parents, and showing the hope of like for change, the hope for better things in the future. And then how we do that is to talk and to understand each other, so that we can like make ways for a better things tomorrow. Yeah, that's how I relate myself to that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with those points that were made as well. In terms of my film, the story itself, I wanted the values to be centered around things that people like can relate to. I think that in cinema, it's important to tell Vietnamese stories and stories about like refugees and Asian American immigrants and things like that. But I also wanted to have my film be shown to a broader audience and feel like they could emotionally connect with the message. So that's why I kind of focused on the phenomenon of a teenage character and how she herself didn't experience the war. She also didn't experience the pain and the suffering that her parents went through. And the whole idea, hopefully without spoiling the film, is that when she has that loss of innocence and she goes through grief and death and things like that, death of her family members, she starts to understand that she really needs to lean into herself and also try to trust and rely on her other family members and her friends, unlikely friends as well. And I just wanted to show that even if life is hard, you can still learn from your hardships and grow more powerful in yourself. And that's why I think it relates to Make Way for Tomorrow.
And I'll answer this question again for Hallie and I, pertaining to the resting place. And so, Eric, when you mentioned that there's always a film set that pertains to loss, I think this film, The Resting Place, in Vietnamese is Nơi An Nghỉ, really fits right into that, because it really talks about death in a very literal sense, right? And loss in a very physical and literal sense. And so this reminds me of one of the people that we interviewed for the film, Go Chị Bom, which, she has experienced so much tragedy in her life. And when we first approached her, Dr. Minan Hodge said, you should really interview this person. She's part of the association, and the association helped her with the burial of her sons. 2 sons who had been murdered a long time ago, back in the 90s, and in like a nightclub in Tacoma. So we went and we interviewed her, and it was probably the hardest thing, that we had to do for that film. Her story and like having her recount that story to us while, the lights and the cameras are on, was just really difficult, but also so authentic and so genuine. And so we're so thankful for her to be able to open up to us and to want to be part of this project. But in that interview, we learned that she not only lost her 2 sons to that shooting, but she also lost a 3rd son, a younger son, to a car accident. And then she had lost her husband eventually. And, she had 2 daughters left. And so she had been living for the past 25 years now, or over 25 now, with her 2 daughters. And, she was pulling out the albums and showing us all these pictures of her sons and this massive altar that was in her house. And then pictures of the funeral. And so in this way, it's very difficult to make way for tomorrow for people who have experienced such an immense loss. And it was clear that she was still very much living in the past, yet she has no choice but to move forward, right? And so this is something that I think rings true to some people, like people who have experienced loss, that you have to move forward. You have to live the next day. No matter what you've experienced the day previous, no matter how hard it was or how many people you've lost. And I think that also extends to, what we've experienced in the past 3 years through COVID. Many of us have lost loved ones. So yeah, I think this film fits very closely into just really in the pocket as far as being in the set with loss.
For me, Make Way for Tomorrow, I associate it with make way for the next generations as well. And I think it's very important that we tell our stories from our perspective instead of others telling our stories, so that we can empower each other and the generations after us. I think the fact that many of us are able to do what we love is a huge privilege. It's really, as they say, our ancestors' wildest dreams. So family really celebrates a community with multiple generations that hold each other and take care of each other. And I think there's a lot to celebrate how far we've come as a community, both in the diaspora and in Vietnam.
Okay, thank you, Kian, and thank you everybody else too. I wanted to launch into the individual questions for the films now, and the order we are going to go about this is the order in which the films appear in the set, and so that begins with "I Want You to Live." So, Mila, the first question is going to go to you. How did you decide upon the letter-based format or the epistolary format of your film?
I would say that I almost feel like my film is very much like a storybook. It's almost something that you can not only watch visually, but read as well. And there's a very pinnacle scene where the main character goes through the peak of like her depression and anxiety, and she has a panic attack. And the point of that scene was to focus on the idea of the mother's will. And throughout the film, there's voiceovers that explain a lot of the memories and the flashbacks. And I made the structure in a way where the mother's arc and her daughter's arc align. And when they both go through hard times and happy times, that also is a parallel there. And while making the film and writing it as well, I decided I want to have a lot of symbolism in there, because I feel like it's important as an audience member when you're watching a film, you want to pay attention to all these little details and what is intentional throughout the story. And I also think that I wanted to let some of the film be interpreted by the audience, and it's more about like telling instead of showing. But then again, at times, I also was very purposeful in what I wanted to show. And I feel like, from my perspective, as a daughter of two Vietnamese immigrants, I very much heard these stories verbally and also through my mother's journal, which is where the whole inspiration for the film came from. And after reading her diary entries, I felt like I connected more with words because I wasn't able to experience what she had. And through that, I think writing a letter to someone as well is very personal, because when people write, it's from their personal voice. And I think that you have the time to digest the words and understand what you want to write. And because of that, I wanted to incorporate that into I Want You to Live.
Okay. Just a follow-up question to that. I believe it's Elise Din, the veteran, who narrated the letter
Yes.
in your film.
Yes.
How
Yes.
did you work with her to settle upon the voice acting?
Yeah, so I actually had a professor at ASU who was a great help, and she specializes in voice acting and acting as well. She was also part of like the theater school and the film school. There was an intersect there. And it was through a series of connections where she had connected me to a different actor, and they were booked up with projects and weren't able to come onto my project. And she said, but instead of, leaving you on a dead end, I want to introduce you to some more people. And I'm extremely grateful for all the professors and supporters throughout this time when I was developing the film. And I was able to look at a lot of resources. And after researching myself and going through a lot of Vietnamese actors in the Orange County and Los Angeles community, because now I live in Los Angeles, so I wanted to connect with someone out here. And Elise happened to be my number one choice because I had heard that she was also once a very, avid supporter of the Viet Film Fest, and she still is. And she's a great person, a great mentor. And how I did it was we had some Zoom sessions, we emailed back and forth. I gave her really extensive directing notes. And as a director, I wanted to make sure that she connected with the story as well. So I sent her the script, and we just talked a lot about what the film meant and why it's important and why we want to represent the Vietnamese community. As many of the panelists have said in this room, that we have to tell our own stories. And I feel like we're the only ones that can do it, because we want to inspire other future filmmakers and creative youth to do that as well. So I'm very thankful to Elise for coming onto my project.
All right, and even though she's not here, we thank her as well. Thank you, Mila. Second in this set is Golden Seams of Love. We couldn't win now. Nguyen, I imagine it was a little difficult to convince your parents to sit down, let themselves be vulnerable, and perhaps their dirty laundry gets aired out. I don't know. But did you have difficulty securing permission from your parents to make this film, and what was their reaction to it?
Actually, I don't really have any like difficulties in securing the permissions to make this film, because when I asked them that I'm going to do my thesis film about them, they just, wanted to help me because it's my thesis. And I'm like, oh, my daughter is making a film. So I will be in my daughter's film, and that's it. So it's pretty easy for me to persuade them to be in the film at first. But then the challenge of it is not like how to get the permission to film, but how to film them on camera, because they are not familiar with cameras or film, or like having no experience with them at all. So whenever I turn on the camera, they are really aware of that. And then so the conversations, the action are toned down a lot. So it's really hard for me to capture their honest emotion on cameras. So sometimes I have to cheat and get the moment without them knowing that I was recording. So when I was doing that, it's kind of like nerve wracking, because I don't know if that offends my parents, because I was filming them technically without their permission. But then what I do with that is that I show them, or I told them after the take, I'm saying like, oh, I just got it on camera, but I just make sure that nothing like too sensitive will be revealed. And then I also have to keep in mind, like when I do editing later, I have to like censor some of the sensitive information. That's something that kind of like they are not comfortable to share. But overall, it was smooth. It was not really hard. And then when I showed them the final film, and they were happy about it, they were surprised in some part that oh, I didn't know that I did that. But overall, they okay with that. So that's a relief.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. I actually was about to follow up with how camera aware they were during the shoot. But it sounds like at sometimes yes, and sometimes no. But I'm glad that they responded well to it in the end.
Yes, I'm glad it too. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Nguyen.
You're
Next up is going to be The Resting Place. To both Hallie and Tina, how did you find out about the Vietnamese community for mutual support of Pierce County?
All right, I will take this one. I am a board member of the Asia Pacific Cultural Center, and one of the other board members on that team is Cô Tuyết Nguyen. So Tuyết approached me actually when I found out about the film, and then they said, well, this is about the Mutual Benefit Association, and Tuyết Nguyen is one of the leaders in it. And I was like, oh, okay. So Tuyết approached me, and I said, tell me more about it. And so she kind of introduced me to the association. She told me what it was about. She introduced me to some of the other their board members and their leaders and organizers. And through that, because I knew her already, I could trust her. And as a producer, you kind of think about the end product, like, is this going to be, come out with a good product, right? And so that's the kind of thing that I think about when I'm thinking about whether or not to invest in the project, is how feasible will we reach the end goal successfully. And so knowing Tuyết and trusting her, and knowing that she's going to have a good big hand in it, along with Dr. Min An, that's how I kind of got into that. But they're this tiny little headquarters on the corner of this downtown Tacoma. And they said, come on over and, check us out. And so I went over. I went to one of their board meetings, and they were like folding folding papers to put in envelopes to send out newsletters to the community, like very like old school. Like they type things out, they print things out, they write the addresses on the envelopes, send them off, put stamps on them, right? All very old school. And then they had lunch, and they're like, oh no, you have to stay for lunch. I was like, okay. So it was kind of getting to know the people themselves and being with them and eating with them, and just kind of seeing what they do is really how I got to know them. And then Hallie, did you want to add anything to that? Okay. Yeah. And then together we sort of just started like meeting individuals from that point on as a group.
Hallie, I don't want to keep you hanging here, but I was wondering what drew you to the resting place.
What drew me to the resting place?
Yes.
Okay. So I was drawn into this project by the director, Kate Hoyt. She was my former professor. And so she was notified about the project by the Chinese Reconciliation Project Foundation. And so she reached out to me to help with the project. And I kind of found out what it was, kind of what direction it was going in, and about the Vietnamese community for mutual support. And I was just really interested to hear people's stories and get to know everybody. And that's kind of really what drew me in.
All right. Thank you, Hallie. And lastly, at least here, we're going to family now. Hello, Hien. I'm wondering, so I need to preface with this. When music videos get submitted to VIF, it's not been a great history. They usually don't get in, but family did. So congratulations to the team on family for that. I'm wondering, what is your musical background, and can you describe the creative process that was behind the choreography in the film?
Yes, well, thank you. I feel really honored that you guys selected family into this year's selection. Well, I'm a singer, music producer, and sound designer. I graduated from Berklee College of Music, and the choreo. The choreo was inspired by Vietnamese traditional fan dance, and I remember I was watching fan dance videos on YouTube, and I played my track "Family" over it. And I just thought that the contrast was so mesmerizing between the track and the dance, because the track has this fast drum and bass influence beat with a strong drive, and the fan dance typically has elegant and slow movements, and it's really designed to convey emotions and to tell a story. So I thought that it would be cool to do a contemporary dance that references this fan dance, which also is an important part of our folklore culture. So for me, the dance part symbolizes unity, heritage, and empowerment. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do most of the choreo because one of our dancers got sick on the day of the shoot. So most of the formations didn't look the same with one less person. So we had to replace her with someone at the shoot. And because of that, we had to do some last minute change and basically simplify the whole thing.
I also noticed that you are credited, at least when it was submitted to VIF, as the creative director of Family. The director as credited in the film is also the other director is Humberto Besa. What was your working relationship like with Humberto? What challenges did you have? How did you complement each other?
Yeah, so Humberto is an amazing director, and we've worked together before on my music video Boy that we shot in Vietnam back in 2018. And I guess we had a good workflow because we already knew each other, and I really like Humberto's taste, and he's very culturally sensitive. I guess the challenge was that he's not Vietnamese, so obviously there were a lot of things that I had to explain to him, and he had to put more time to learn about our culture and to understand the scenes and the concept. Obviously, there are things that he cannot fully understand, but I think that he did a great job as a director to translate my ideas into this film.
All right. Thank you, Hyun. And we are going to go back to the top of the order. We're going back to Mila for another round of individual questions. I'm wondering, how did you cast your lead actress, Natalie Jenk?
Yeah, so I would say that at the ASU Sidney Poitier New American Film School, I would say the community is very tight knit. It really doesn't matter what kind of concentration you're from. We had people who were in sound design, the directing track, which is where I was, the producing track, cinematography, editing, music, acting. And throughout the community, we knew mostly of all of the students, and we had worked on many sets together. So I had actually met Natalie on another set that one of our mutual friends was directing for his capstone. And she actually wasn't an actor on that set. She was the BTS photographer, but had done acting on the side. And I really felt like diversity and also authenticity was important to show. And working through her, we did many rehearsals. We were on set. We were helping the other teams kind of get settled with all the production design and all of that sound. All of the departments were working together, and it was just a really great experience to really work with an actor and focus on my directing skills and also tell her how much the story meant to me. Actually, before we rehearsed the first time, we had a conversation about family and the struggles of being Asian American and the identities that you're looking at in honesty, like what is too Asian, what's too American, and all of those topics that many articles and books talk about. And we just had a very interesting discourse about that. So I think because of that and really connecting with the story, the performance can come through more.
So I Want You to Live also integrates some home video footage as well. I think I know the answer to this, but where did the home video footage come from, and how did you decide which scenes to integrate into the film?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that in the film, the first couple montages, specifically the war montages, were not my personal footage. My editor had put that together separately, but the home videos were my family's, and I spent many hours sifting through almost thousands and thousands of videos, and I got to watch the history of my family really come to life. And as a filmmaker, young filmmaker, I'm really interested in like vintage aspects of films, like that Super 8 frame, vintage film, 16 millimeter film, things like that. And I wanted to recreate that sort of look. That was like a very big part of the vision. And all the wedding videos, and those were videos of me as a child, as a baby, and my sister as well. And all my cousins are featured in it. And one thing I wanted to mention was in the ending credits, all those photos that are going scrolling up are also all real photos of my family and friends, my best friends and I. And I just felt like it was great to pull in a very personal aspect and have my family see it at the very end.
All right. Thank you, Milan. And to win now for Golden Seams of Love, what surprised you the most while filming Golden Seams of Love about your parents' relationship?
What surprised me the most is a realization, like my own realization that I've been overthinking. Like I'm the only one who thinks the relationship is like going sour and that it cannot be fixed. And I was really negative about that, and like it also affected the way that I construct my questions for them. So that's kind of like so when I like started to film, and then after the filming and then put everything together, I realized I've been overthinking a lot. And I also realized the most important things in the relationship is like a proximity, is like, you know, how close you are with that person, without those people. Because I've been living far away from my parents, I think like over 10 years now. And then there's a thing that I don't notice and understand better than my sister, who is always close to my parents, because she lives with my parents right now. So that's why when I came home and I started to film, and I filmed my parents and my sister as well, I've realized that I'm the only one who keeps thinking that my parents don't love each other anymore. And then the other side of the family were like, they are together. And then that's why I realized the last impression of me about the relationship was not good. So that's why I'm having those thoughts like for too long. And then what I have been like fixing the relationship throughout the years, and how their relationship developed, I have no idea. So this is really refreshing to see, to see what coming, like what the income out of my question. And also it's good to know that it's not that bad, and that is also the motivation for me to make this film, to see like my perspective and my parents' perspective, and then how it's contrast to each other. And I think it's add like a little bit of I'm not saying like a twist, but it's showing like how you perceive somebody relationship, and how when you like finally listen to their perspective, and how it come together. So yeah. So yeah, just don't be overthinking.
Right. I think that kind of answers my question, but if you want to elaborate a little more on this one, feel free. But how have the lessons that you learned while making Golden Seams of Love influenced how you've gone about your life since you completed it?
It changed a lot actually, because but it changed my perspective about love and marriage a lot, because before I was really like, I'm not really going for marriage, because what I saw my dad and mom was going through, I think that marriage is not like a happy choice for me, so I'm not really going for it. But after that, like after actually talking with my parents, and also because making this film, giving me the chance for me to like be open up with my parents, like about my perspective. So I think I might have a second thought about that. So it's like is I'm not gonna perceive that it's like as negative as before. And I also realize and understand that the communication is the key, like in a relationship, like whatever relationship is, like your family relationship or your love relationship. Um, and I think it's better for us to be honest with each other, would be open up with each other, and things will like can get fixed better. And also love can heal, like can help people heal. And then and it also can be expressed in different ways, so there's no like a certain way to depict love language. So it's like it's a lesson for me to see, like, okay, so if I see my parents act this way, it doesn't mean that they don't love each other. It's just like their own way to express their emotion, their feelings for each other. And I had to learn more about that, and now I have the chance to do that, so I kind of like understand more about like how to it's not like how you depict somebody love by like a certain things, but like how you see those people make you feel. And then like, oh, and when I see them doing that, even though in my dictionary it's like it's not like a definition of love, but the way that they make me feel, and then I ask them, or like I approach them, or there's like a certain thing for me to have like a communication with them to get it like understand it better, and then I feel like, okay, that's love. So yeah,
Okay.
definitely my perspective about life changed a lot
All
after
right.
making this film. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nguyen. To the
Welcome.
resting place now. How did I imagine there were plenty of people you could have interviewed and that you did interview, but how did you decide upon the interview subjects that ended up in the final cut of the film?
All right, I'll jump in here, and then maybe Hallie, you can talk about the subjects who didn't end up in the film. So Twit, Nguyen, and Minan Hodge were our kind of consultants because they were our door in to that association in the community. Hallie and Kate were not a close part of the Vietnamese community. And since I was kind of recently moved there and COVID had happened, and I really didn't get a chance to know any Vietnamese community members except for Twit, really. They were the ones who kind of opened the doors for us. And I found it to be easy to connect with them because I'm Vietnamese, because I'm an insider in that way, and was able to really jump in and be accepted by that community. But also because I was new, and also because I'm of a younger generation, most of the people in that association are in their 60s, 70s, and then into their 80s. I was sort of an outsider. And so I was able to kind of see in an objective way, what was going on in that community and how they developed it and the ups and downs that they had gone through. And so Twit had recommended you should interview this person, and Minan also, this person over here, the person who runs the cemetery, okay, the former president of this association, and this person helped us a lot. And so it was really through their help that we, were able to select the folks that we ended up filming. But Hallie can share with you like the difficulties we had in trying to who are we going to keep and who are we going to leave out of the story.
Yeah. Thankfully, we tried really hard to fit in everybody that we spoke with as much as possible. Thankfully, we didn't have to leave too many people out. There was only one instance I can think of where we did interview a couple of people that didn't make it in to the finished film, because when we went and interviewed Mary, we did have word got around that we were going to film that day, so we did have a couple of extra people show up who wanted to share their story with us. And so we did some impromptu interviews with them that unfortunately we couldn't keep. But the really big thing that sticks out is one of the people who made it into the film, Thanh Hoa. She did say some really profound and insightful things that got to stay in the film, but she also shared with us when we were filming some really deep personal stories of hers about a dark point in her life when she ended up converting to Christianity that we unfortunately couldn't keep in the film. And then the other person that we unfortunately had to leave out was Nguyen Thanh Huan's wife, who we did interview when we spoke with Mary as well, but unfortunately it just wasn't able to translate into the finished version because there was a lot of overlap in speaking and interviewing them both together.
Okay, thank you, Hallie. That answered actually a follow-up question I was going to ask. But last question here for Resting Place. Are there any impending obstacles, whether it's financial, logistical, manpower? Are there any impending obstacles facing the Vietnamese community for mutual support?
Yes, there are, in fact, and a little bit of each of those things. Operationally, the founding members are now, like I mentioned earlier, they're all elders now, and they were in their 40s and 50s when they started the association to support each other. But now that they're older, they're finding that younger people aren't necessarily interested in joining the association, and their thoughts are that perhaps the younger people are now successful and can actually pay for their own families' funerals. And this was one of the main reasons why the association was started, because some families, refugee families who had passed away, members who had passed away, could not afford to bury their loved ones. But now, times have changed and young people are more successful. And so one of the struggles is to keep this association alive, despite the fact that, that there's this kind of financial piece that really holds the association together, financial reasons. But there are other reasons to hold the association together, right? The sense of community, being with each other in hardship and supporting each other. And so they're really trying hard to find younger people to kind of take over and take the lead to continue this association. But by younger, they don't mean like 20s, by younger people is like younger than them. So people in their 40s and 50s is what they're talking about, people who are kind of settled in their careers and are thinking about the older stages in life and what that will look like. So that is one of the biggest, I think, obstacles for them, is to find people to continue this work that they've done for over 25 years.
Okay, thank you, Tina and Hallie. And we wish the Vietnamese Community for Mutual Support of Pierce County, Washington, all the best as well. And one last time to Hien and to family, I'm wondering, so in your music video, there are certain moments where we're seeing certain snippets of domestic life. How did you choose those specific scenes to integrate into family?
So the scenes were inspired by my childhood memories back in the 90s, the events that really tied our community together. And so, it starts with the intro with the baby that represents the birth of the second generation Vietnamese Hungarians. And we have the praying scene at the Ban Thờ. The practice of ancestor worship is a major part of our daily lives. And nearly every Vietnamese household in Hungary has a small altar, a Ban Thờ, which is used to commune with ancestors. We have the family meal scene after, which symbolizes union and love. It is the space where all family members gather and reconnect, a very meaningful way of showing love and care for our community, I think. And then we have the karaoke scene. I think karaoke is an important part of any good Vietnamese bonding session and takes place anywhere and everywhere. It's all about community and family. I think a karaoke night is one of the most dependable communal joys of Vietnamese life. And then we close with the kids or siblings scene. From my experience in a lot of Vietnamese families, older siblings can take over childcare and household tasks. And I have these memories from the big gatherings we had where kids were hanging separately from the adults and the older kids took care of the younger ones. So yeah, these scenes are from my memories that for me had strong association with our community, and that's why I pick these scenes.
All right, thank you. I wanted to wrap up this Q&A session with something for the entire group. I'm wondering if you would like to share any future projects that are in the pipeline for all of you. Let's go in reverse order. So starting with Hien.
Well, I'm planning to shoot a music video next year in Vietnam for one of my songs on my next project. It's gonna be in Vietnamese. I don't really sing in Vietnamese. All of my songs before was in English or in Hungarian, and this is gonna be my first release that has Vietnamese lyrics.
Hallie and Tina.
I will quickly say that I'm moving from film into a children's book. So my first children's book came out. It's called the Vietnamese Children's Songbook. And that's songs from North and South Vietnam, but that we are missing songs from Central Vietnam. So that's my second project, book project. That's what I'm working on next.
For me, I'm actually working on a few things. I recently was just admitted into Loyola Marymount University as a grad student for screenwriting. So I will be directing on the side, but really more focusing on writing. So I'll be writing and producing a few scripts in the future, hopefully. And on the side, I'm also a magazine editor for a nonprofit that one of my best friends and I founded in college during the pandemic. It's called Culture Talk, and we built it for students to come and create different media magazines. We have a podcast, blogs, things like that, about cultural education and just spreading heritage and appreciation for diversity. And we're just working on a few future projects there, whether on the magazine or something else.
For me, I actually don't have like a specific thing to work on because I just graduated. So the most important thing for me right now is just finding a job. And besides that, I could like I want to like keep on writing because I love writing. So I actually have like a script ready for like a one-shot project. So if I have a chance and I meet like a right people, then that can help me to make that happen. So probably that one of my future projects as well. And then because I'm an international student, so I don't have enough like long time to stay here after like working. I think I only have to stay here for a year. And then maybe in Vietnam, I have some like filmmaker who are like my friends who are filmmakers as well. So probably doing some projects with them when I go back.
Hallie, last word on the last question.
Yeah. In terms of future projects for me, I'm currently pursuing my MFA in documentary production. So I'm going to be working on a few like short projects for completing that degree. So that's kind of where I'm going.
All right. And we wish you all the best on the MFA. Jamila, we wish you all the best at LMU. And there were two filmmakers today who were not able to appear on this Q&A. They were Lin Tran, the director of Video Funeral, and they were T. Chu, the director of Homeseek. We wish them both well. We thank them both, and their projects are wonderful for Make Way for Tomorrow. But for now, from me and for Nguyen Phan, Millen Nguyen, Hallie Harper, Tina Nguyen, and Hien Nguyen, we thank you for watching Make Way for Tomorrow. Viet Film Fest 2023 runs from September the 30th all the way to Sunday, October the 15th. We are in person on Friday, October the 6th, and Saturday, October the 7th at the Frida Cinema in downtown Santa Ana. We hope to see you very soon here at Viet Film Fest. Thank you for joining me. And thank you all to all of our filmmakers, whether on the West Coast or out in Hungary, for joining us for this Q&A. Thank you.